Okay. Good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and get the meeting started. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. I think spring has sprung, right? No more polar vortex, no more snow. I was gone for a week and all the snow in my yard was gone, so that's a good thing. First item on the agenda tonight is approval of the agenda, and I have no changes. If there's any other changes, if not, need a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. Roll call, please.
Motion by Schultz. Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. Item on the agenda is recognitions. Do we have no recognitions this evening? Next item on the agenda is the President's Report. I don't have any topics tonight. Just a reminder, if there's anybody else that has topics that they want to get onto the President's agenda, just let me know ahead of time. You might have to do a little homework, because I'd expect you to bring some details, but probably time to get back on and revisit our visitors list and see, we've been using some of this time to connect with different members of the community. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped over it. I apologize. Item 5A, reception of visitors. There were nobody had signed up on the book, but certainly if anybody in the audience wants to address the board in the form of a statement, you can do that now. Okay, thank you. So we did the President's Report. Down to committee reports. We have an update from the Insurance Committee.
The Insurance Committee met on February the 27th. The items that were talked about included the PPO 750 plan, dental plans, and identity theft that's offered by EBC. Our next meeting is actually tomorrow at 3:30 p.m.
We've come a long way in the work. Next item on the agenda is the Superintendent's Report. Dr. Algrim?
Well, we have a number of things to work through tonight. I think we'll start by our department report, if we can do that. Can we do that? Our Physical Development Department is here tonight, so we'll start our Superintendent's Report with that report.
You guys all mic'd up, ready to go? The gym teachers don't need mics, so that's a problem.
Well, this is our second time through on a report. We were here a couple years ago, second time through. We'll go through a few items on the list here.
Since we last presented, both campuses continue to work on vertical alignment of our curriculum using evidence-based best practices. Our goal continues to be mastery of movement concepts as well as health and wellness concepts. And what we're trying to do is create a battery of life skills that ensures the health and wellness of our kids in the college and beyond, basically trying to make the foundation to make Warren a healthier community. Our effort to integrate state's fitness-based standards is a common thread through all programming continues to evolve, and we're finding new and better ways to do that as we move on. As we talked about the integration of fitness aspects in all curriculum, we are incorporating as a well-rounded PE. We're trying to create the well-rounded student, not just sports and games, but as again, the whole concept is to try to introduce lifelong habits. And we tell the kids, chronic diseases don't start when you're an adult. They start with your habits that you build now. And that's one of the things we've really been focused on is a wellness model throughout the curriculum. We've been doing that with the integration of technology to promote understanding, particularly on the effects of exercise on learning. And we're proud to report that since our last presentation, when mandated state reporting of fitness tests came through, we are now 6% healthier. We had a 6% uptick in the performance of VO2. And in our next diagram, you see that plays an important role, particularly as it relates to learning. What we have up here is it's a little bit tough to see, but how the elements of our curriculum play into brain development and how the impact that they have on learning. So, for instance, in the strength classes here and cross-training classes here, as well as cross-training, strength, and the activities that we refer to as the farm for our brain-based learning program over at Old Plain. When you perform lifting weights or complex movements such as a squat or something like that, just a general movement pattern, it stimulates and correlates with the prefrontal cortex, which helps kids with complex thinking, reasoning, problem solving, and multitasking and things like that. When you move into the back area of the brain, as we started to do over at Old Plain, and it's continuing to integrate into team sports here, sports drills, things like agility ladders, running around cones and doing those things. What that does, it helps to stimulate areas of the brain that provide attention to detail, transitioning from task to task, as models are built in lab experiments and things of that nature. And the big one, particularly our campus, is inhibition. So being able to learn how to self-monitor, how to control, and really improving the abilities for executive functioning among our younger kids. On the left, when we integrate things like yoga into our cross-training classes, in health, we practice progressive relaxation. It integrates thoughts and emotions. What we're finding in research is that when a learner enters an emotional state, when they're feeling particularly stressed, the elements of cognition are actually reach a deficit. So when a child has an emotional response to a learning environment or any other thing, what's going to happen is their ability to process kind of diminishes. So we're using things like what we call reflexive reactive resets, autogenic training, yoga, and other things of that nature in order to reduce fear and anxiety and actually help to stimulate the learning process. Other things that we do, high-intensity intervals. What that does is that actually helps, it controls appetite, it gets kids to eat better throughout the day, it kind of gets their metabolism regulated. Another thing is addiction. It actually helps kids to kind of regulate hormonally how they work and be able to self-regulate throughout the course. And then the last one is the aerobic exercise. The use of cardio rooms at both campuses, really understanding how heart rate reserve works, something that we're launching called the Polar Project, which actually stimulates the hippocampus in the brain, and the hippocampus is responsible for retention. So that's really the core of what we do. If we get the kids to understand better how to manipulate their heart rate in order to get those things to work, it impacts learning. It actually goes into something that's called a personal effective learning state, where it allows the chemical nature of the brain to regulate itself in order to organize itself over rest.
Here you can see an example. Gio's going to get started for us, of the almond weight room here, as well as an outdoor class. It's on a time lapse. You can see we have basically 3 classes working. The video's a little small here, but you can see some of the work of the students throughout the day. And this is a class period. This is a 40-minute class period. The amount of movement, the amount of kids that are moving around, and the different exercises that are taking place on a given day in class here and here. In the back.
Rope, yeah, they're fun.
Spider-Man.
So in this video you see with the application of what we're doing, we basically moved our farm. You can see a different exercise where we collectively call this our farm. So the children will do a cardiac or cardiovascular workout one day, and we'll try to get a multi-movement thing. So you can see here is complex motor pattern. The vestibular system has to react to itself. You're changing levels, changing heights, having to learn how to sense force. On the left, I actually got this through research. When you have a child do something called a farmer's walk, it stimulates the vestibular system and actually helps with reading. And so in the back, you can see a couple activities where kids are getting their heart rate up. They're using complex moving patterns. They're having to basically solve problems through movement. And at its core, that's what movement really is. You react to a stimuli, you put your body in position to make that movement go, and it stimulates those areas of the brain, which will then carry itself upstairs into the other parts of the classroom. Let me get the next slide. I don't know if we can get that after the video. Are we stuck? There we go. Okay, here's another thing, an example of our technology integration. What you see on the left is the kids in use in the cardio room at the Old Plain campus, and on the right you see is a dashboard for polar heart rate monitors. What we're able to do with this is effectively get the kids to exercise in a rate that will get them into that personal effective learning state. And what you see is the color code is to let the kids know where they are. And there's a couple things that are really, really cool about this. Number one, it teaches them the understanding of your exercise level is for you. It allows us to individualize programs for kids in order to get them the best result. You can see the red lights, for instance, up there. Some of those kids were going too hard. It tells them teaches them how to self-monitor. A lot of time we have some apprehension with fitness activities, but we can teach the kids, to be a young person that's a little bit deconditioned, you're gonna get the benefit from just a little bit of activity. If you have a kid who's really in shape, we're gonna have to amp it up a little bit, and it allows us to do those things. And what it is, it's real-time feedback, and it puts those kids in a zone. And another added benefit is it provides objectivity when we talk about their work level and all those kinds of things like that. But it's really exciting. We're rolling it out. We piloted it in the first semester last year. We got all the classes in it, and it allows the kids to really, really get into what they need to be in order to exercise at a level that's going to enhance their learning.
Here are some of the other miscellaneous activities we do throughout the year. The SAT activity that'll be coming up here, April 9th is Activate Your Brain, where we open up the facilities at 6:30, and the students are allowed to come in a half hour before the test, 6:30 to 7, and they get around, they move around, do different activities, whether it's in the cardio room, weight room. We try to get their heart rate up, similar to what Coach Mike is saying here. And then we also supply them with a piece of fruit. We have the blood drive that we do twice a year here. Since we started running it through the P department in 2013, we've collected over 3,000 pints of blood for here in the Chicagoland area. And for every donation, it has the ability to support help three individuals, whether it's a cancer patient or just even a straight donation or whatever the case may be there. And I'm sure you guys probably also heard about the Max Sherwitz Foundation, which is also run through both PE classes at both campuses, with the coordination with Ms. Belmont. We were able to screen 1,339 students, and they were able to identify 9 students with some specific issues. And from my understanding, one student had to be almost immediately rushed to a procedure that potentially might have saved their life. So that's something that we do every other year. I guess it's not needed done on a yearly basis, but every other year we take care of that and do that through the classes.
And we do it every 2 years, so they get it as a freshman and as a junior. So, you know, one of the things that the Shevitz Foundation points out is that these conditions can develop over time. So the ability to do it twice and catch kids, I mean, as Brian had alluded to, we've saved 2 lives, and we've probably made great changes to kids and enhanced their lives a lot better through the other activities. And I believe that is all we have for you folks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? On your first slide, you mentioned that, you know, health has increased, or whatever the term you used, 6%.
Okay.
How is that measured, just out of
So
curiosity?
there's a battery of tests that's put up by the Cooper Institute, which is an agency in Texas. It's Dallas, Texas. They have a program called Fitness Grant. The kids are going through a battery of standardized tests where they're achieving norms over time. They perform a test for muscular strength, which is a push-up based on cadence, and it's set to a standard for range of motion. They do an abdominal test that tests their abdominal endurance, or their abdominal muscle endurance. They do a pacer test, which is a 20-meter pacer test, and the kids do that. And what they're able to do is establish a VO2 based on that child's height and weight. And the VO2 scores for kids in the healthy zone has increased by 6%. So we have 6% more kids in the healthy zone. Now, I'll admit we have work to do, but we're already on the right track. We started these health and fitness integration 3 years ago, and within the second year it already paid dividends.
So the state started requiring the information, that's how we started to be able to keep
Yeah, we
track
started
of
to
it.
do
So,
this as part of, I'm sorry. go
no,
ahead.
basically, the state required us to return this information for sophomores. So now we have a yearly track, and we're able to monitor that and track that.
Okay, outstanding.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Engel?
Good evening. Hey, we've got the treasurer's report here for February. Cash balance right now at the end of the month, for the February is, $39,463,000. Revenues coming in so far, year-to-date for local revenues, we're actually a little bit tiny bit behind. We're supposed to get 50%, we're at 48.5. But state funding, which has a threshold right around 61%, we're at 69.38. So the state's actually a little bit ahead of schedule where it's normally prior years.
Total was like a
Shade over 30. Which part?
revenue.
51.41. Correct, about halfway. Yep, about halfway for revenue right now. On the expenditure side, the projection right now is 60.5%, we're at 59.75. Again, there's going, in salaries and benefits, year-to-date should be right around 56.3. Objects include, capitalized projects that we're doing right now, like, some of the boiler replacements, hot water domestic, and some, training, HVAC work, is a little bit higher, we're at 74.18 versus 71, so that's where we're at right now on the expenditure side. On the cash flow, as you can see, we're actually trending, if you take the bond posting money out, we're trending right where we should be. We're following that curve all the way down and goes top back up there again in early June. So that's where we're at. I also have some additional updates, to present to you. You guys remember when we purchased the Ford pickup truck, the Dually?
Saw the bill come through.
Yes, it's going to be here Friday, so they're delivering.
38,000,
Yep.
just a shade over 38.
Yeah, correct.
For an F-250 dually,
350.
350 dually.
And that's with the full Western plow and all the hydraulics,
Right.
and it's a quad cab too, it's, the real deal. So, yeah. Here's also an update on the tennis courts. We had a bid opening on March 13th. There were 4 total bidders on the project. Bids are being reviewed right now by Gwalt Hamilton. There'll be a recommendation forthcoming at the next board meeting. Okay. Also, here's an update on the hot water domestic and the boiler work that's happening over at Eau Plaine. The hot water domestic, hot water heaters arrived a few days ago. They're waiting to be delivered to the job. Today, the new flues are installed, and the details that go through the new flues are in place right now for both the hot water domestic and the beginning of the new boiler. So the flues are going in.
Were those, that's not the train work, or that is the train work?
That's part of the capitalized project.
Right, but it's not train boilers, it's something different.
Correct, they're
Okay.
A.O. Smith, boilers going in, trains doing the work on
Gotcha.
the 3 main boilers and the 2 hot water domestics at Eau Plaine.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, and
That's what I'm thinking.
boiler work, is going to be, is basically going to take place once the heating season is done and over with, which will either be end of April, early May, or it could be pushed back to summer, depending on here's an update. We will have to amend this year's budget to include, the working cash bond proceeds, and also the expenditures related to them, which would include the capitalized projects for the hot water domestic, the boiler project, and the tennis courts, and security upgrades between now and the end of the school year. So that will be coming up. There's for April 9th, there will be a preliminary budget presentation. And that's the board meeting, so we'll be posting a legal ad posting. On April 23rd, will be a tennis budget presentation. On May 14th will be amended budget hearing with presentation for board.
What was the last May date? 4th?
14th.
That's the approval.
Correct. It could happen the 14th, or we could wait till the end of May, either one.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Couple other, just general things in addition to our monthly reports, which were in the, board documents. We did have, 4 FOIAs come in, since our last board meeting. One was from, Amira Services in regards to our custodial services contract. One was from Mr. William Cadigan in regards to athletic training contracts. One was from Mr. Barty in regards to student service records. And one came in from the Illinois Retired Teachers Association in regards to contact information regarding our upcoming, retirees. A couple, just general announcements. Summer camps, just as an informational piece, April 1st is kind of our date where we flip over from one year to the next in terms of summer camps. So we'll start, our athletic and activity departments will probably start generating a lot of information about the summer camps for our students as well as our youth camps. We've summer hours, we've run through our buildings and created a summer hours document. Basically, we are doing what we've done in years past and starting them on June the 3rd. and running them through, middle of August, and we will not be in session. The district will be closed on July 4th and July 5th. So, we've kind of run that schedule by our buildings, and, the schedule looks fine. We have committee meetings coming up. Mike, I think referenced the fact that, tomorrow we actually have an Insurance Advisory Committee meeting, here at 3:30, and then after a spring break, our Diversity Committee meeting meets on April the 2nd at 6:30 here. And on April the 3rd, we have actually 3 committee meetings. We have a Curriculum Committee meeting at 3:30. We have a, Safety Committee meeting at 5:30, and then we have an Important Solar, Committee meeting at 6:30. We're gonna do all 3 of those down in the board, conference room, and for board members that'll be here for multiple meetings, we'll make sure we have some food available, because we do start those committee meetings at 3:30, and we might be here, you know, a few hours, past our 8:30 start with solar. So, those are on, April the 3rd. This week, Friday, we have an early release 2-hour early release from each of our campuses. Next week, obviously, I know the board knows we are on spring break. And looking ahead to our April 9th meeting, we're actually gonna have, we try to commit to at least 1 meeting a year over our Eau Plaine campus. So we've zeroed in on our April 9th meeting, Mrs. Bertola. And we're actually, thinking we might have to start that meeting, with closed session at about 6 o'clock. There's just a number of things there. So we'll be doing that over at Eau Plaine on the 9th and starting our closed session at 6. Open session still at 7:30, 7:30. Anything else?
When we, put the announcement out, I know we put the announcements out and everything, we should like put little extra stars or bolds for the people, you know, from the public attending. You get into a routine. Money has it, a third of us will show up here that night and not realize it's at Eau Plaine. It's just people
I
get
won't be a third.
people, I know. People get into a habit,
Right,
so
right.
if we can bold it or put a
We
red,
will.
put a little red thing or whatever, just so it sticks out a little bit. We wanna
Sounds
make
good. We absolutely can do
wanna
that.
make sure people see it.
And that's all for the superintendent's report.
Did you talk about summer hours?
I did.
Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is our consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Roll call?
Excuse me, motion by Wall, second by Linda. Conway? Yes.
I abstain, I wasn't at the meeting on the 27th.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item under new business is approval of the agreement of Phase 1 for the security cameras at Eau Plaine. Looks like we're adding, is it a mixture of, no, it says additional 52 cameras, is that right, Pat?
I can answer that. Yeah, so it's an addition to what already exists. So, what we're in the process of installing, is a system that, we're installing door trips and all of our, so you guys can see me. We're installing door trips, on all of our exterior doors, and cameras trained on those doors. So as soon as that door opens, that camera immediately starts to record. And it would also trigger, a pop-up on administrator laptops and security, desks, throughout the building. So, because we would not expect any of those doors to be open during the school day. So what that, and these are special cameras that are designed to do this, so if we do actually have a camera on that door already, which most cases we do, we're actually gonna repurpose those in other places throughout the building.
This is a key step in our overall security
Yes.
plan. Perfect.
And I think this is the Eau Plaine round of that.
Full coverage, no blind spots.
Correct.
This was, just to remind the board, this was the great work that our safety committee did, and with our, all the people on our safety committee, including the police department and, our experts locally. We thought we were gonna move forward with this, we were just waiting until Mr. Trump came through with his guys, right, to make sure that it was a good move before we actually executed, the order of the cameras and installation. So, now that we've got that information back, which we'll share more of that, at the safety meeting on April the 3rd, we do feel comfortable, very comfortable in moving forward with, this initiative.
So I'll move to approve the purchase from Precision Edge Access Control for 52 additional security cameras at the Old Point campus.
Roll call, please.
By Wilson. Conway. Yes. Mr. Walls.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item, as I was reading this today, so this is the approval to install. So the first one was purchase and this is install? Got it.
Yeah, I had some questions on that too, because it starts off by saying additional cameras,
Right.
but it's not additional cameras, it's just installation and the connectivity. Yeah, there's a
Move to approve the proposal from Precision Control Systems of Chicago Incorporated for the purchase of 28 camera, door contact, cabling, and installation of equipment from Precision Control Systems of Chicago Incorporated for the Old Plain campus.
second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Walls. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is our membership to the Illinois High School Association renewal. Any discussion on that or background?
John, did you hear anything about anything coming out of legislation about IHSA membership and where that's going?
I think that any, from what I understand, any plan to go in a different direction away from where they're at with the IHSA was defeated pretty early on.
Okay.
So there was some talk amongst, there was just some potential bills out there about some different formats and plans for kind of disassembling the IHSA for in no better terms, but I think they got some immediate reaction that,
Some conferences were
right.
discouraged with IHSA's ability to navigate.
Discussion? Otherwise,
I'll move to approve the membership renewal with the Illinois High School Association for the 2019-2020 school year.
roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Item, in line with our staffing plan. Following. Next is the resolution authorizing the honorable dismissal of teachers. The resolution will honorably dismiss the following teachers from employment in the district at the end of the current school year for RIF reasons: Emily Alexander, Michael Engelmeyer, Shannon Daring, and Stacy Leach. Is there any discussion? May I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the resolution of honorable dismissal of teachers as presented.
Second.
Conway. Yes.
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 Last item under our full year. Consistent with everything we've been. I move to approve the full year 20 tentative staffing plan as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Drake, second by Munda. Yes. Walls.
Yes.
Yes.
Munda.
Yes.
Drake.
Just one item under old business. Any updates on the solar project?
Just a reminder to the board, one of the processes that has been in place, right, prior to, for the last couple weeks, and I think over the next week or so over spring break, is some of the contractors or potential contractors for the solar project have been walking through with reps from PSI. This is the time when PSI is collecting competitive bids on the different portions of the work, right, related to the installation of the solar project. And the goal there is that by April 1st, what Mr. Hintz had told us was that by April 1st, they would be able to construct a open book, I think is the way he referenced it, open book pricing, which just means to line item by line item, generally to be able to see, you know, how the bids came in and the, I guess, the assimilation of those low bids into a final cost document. That's part of, obviously why we want to have a solar committee meeting on April the 3rd. Good opportunity for the board to review that very important document, and to make sure that the board is comfortable with those numbers that came in, from that process. But they have been coming through both interior and exterior a little bit, just to get, obviously, that those contractors can come up with, appropriate bids. Anything else, Mike, that I'm forgetting about, or?
At our last meeting, were you going to look at trying to get more information on still doing a rooftop mounting?
I'm still getting some information from Kurt, just as, you know, a comparison option.
So we haven't received anything yet then?
I've gotten some bits and pieces, but not all of it yet.
Okay.
And most of it is how it might compare to the final numbers for the ground mount, which he told me early on he wouldn't have till the beginning of April.
Okay.
And we have some assumption numbers for the roof, because we didn't do any engineering, you know, final engineering on that, but I'll have my comparison sheet that I look at and try to, hopefully it helps people. Good question. Any other questions? Adjourn the meeting. Roll call.
Mrs. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone.